Psychophysiologic transformation. So what are we talking about here? Psychological, which is really the material of our psyche, and there's many different layers to our psyche. We know this when people use terms like body, mind, spirit, but there really is no disconnection between body, mind, and spirit. All are intertwined, and overall I really find reductionism, breaking things up into its parts, to be one of the things keeping people sick. But over time, we need to be able to break things up to some degree to work on the individual aspects of our being. So again, what does this mean exactly? Well, psychological is the material. The way we think is in linguistic terms. We often think, or we mostly think, in terms of words. But there's many different things that go into the way our psyche operates. Our physiology is more the mechanistic side of things. We have this nervous system, which is like, but much more advanced than an electrical conducting system that runs through our entire body, from our brain down our spinal cord, and touching every single aspect of our body, from our skin, the layers of our tissue, our musculature, our bones, our organs, our brain. But we know we have things that we can't measure. We can't measure our linguistic capacity. We can if we break it down and do tests like how many words does a person know, or how many words can they say of this certain type in a certain amount of time. But all of the different layers make that impossible to do as a whole. And that really is what depth psychology is all about. Depth psychology, for example, to use the term complex, what a complex is this combination of many different factors: memory, belief, emotion, feeling, thought, felt sense, meaning the experience in our body, triggers, and how all of those things can manifest in recurring patterns or complexes that when we develop a high level of meditation, we can begin to observe how a trigger brings up this confluence of all these different factors at once. Our physiology is all of the different facets of the chemical systems of our body, our hormones, our neurotransmitters, and how those things affect, again, our musculature, our organs, our skin, our brain, all of those things. This term really isn't meant to overcomplicate things. There's many different terms that people are throwing around, which are a combination of a science term and more of a humanities term put together. And there's many different combinations of those. They're simply just different angles at looking at our existence. And I personally think this angle is a very holistic angle, because the study of physiology is something that we know very well. We know how different stresses impact our body, and the study of physiology is essentially how stress and adaptation on the body occur together. Now, there is no separation between our body and our mind. They are one. So from a mechanistic perspective, using physiology as a foundation for understanding psychology, it's very good because it's very systematic. We can see exactly how a stressor affects the body, how we adapt to it, how we develop over time. Now, in combination with a field that can become very ethereal, very much transient, where things are constantly changing, where it's very hard to look at things objectively, that combination of a very analytical, systematic field and a more subjective, less systematic field can be very powerful. So, in combination with the field of depth psychology, which is essentially Jungian psychology, which I talked about, the term complex, transpersonal psychology, which is the psychology of essentially transcending the self, or ego recession, or spiritual psychology. Again, a field that doesn't often have the systematic approach, although there's many traditions, cultures, and fields that do have a very systematic approach there. I'm looking at it from this specific lens. Art and art therapies and the integration of all this. And coming to the body, strength conditioning is a field of working with the body, of developing the body, mostly developing the musculature of the body. But when it's from a true physiologic, exercise physiologic standpoint, we're looking at hormones, we're looking at neurotransmitters, we're looking at those fluctuations over a weekly, monthly, and even multi-year basis, something unheard of in sort of the status quo of anyone discussing working with the body. Is a multi-year systematic process looking at everything from hormones, nutrition, neurotransmitters, neurophysiology, all those things, and all of how they affect the body. So that in combination with the psychology side is extremely, extremely powerful. And so I've touched on strength conditioning a little bit, and I'm going to lead into that artistic side a little bit. And I'm going to talk about ballet and how ballet is potentially one of the best bridges for bringing that physiologic side, that systematic side, into that psychological side, into that depth side, and being able to integrate that artistic side through the body, through physiology. So again, what am I talking about here? Without the ability to embody, meaning through essentially very difficult things, the ability to embody the different layers of the psychological perspective, I believe whatever things you're working with are not going to take you where you want to go. I'm going to get more into this later. But without that ability to truly embody, which means can you do complex things and integrate whatever psychological work you've been doing? Can you do complex things? I'm not talking about solving a Rubik's Cube. I'm not talking about thinking about something while you're sitting still. I'm saying, can you do with your physical body amidst stressors, amidst social pressure, amidst complexes rising, with a physical skill component, still integrate all the work you've been doing?